Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. I am one of your co-hosts, Gavin, and today I am joined by my other co-host, DJ. Say what's up, man.
What's up, man? It's me, DJ, your favorite co-host. Hello.
Yeah, you're my favorite. You are my favorite co-host.
Awesome. Fuck all your other co-hosts.
You're also easily my blackest co-host.
Oh, cool.
So that adds 10 cool points.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah, so welcome to the show. Me and DJ have not completely decided on a name for the show just yet, but this is a general RPG podcast.
All your
really
RPG needs, we're here.
That's right. We love role playing games. We love Japanese role playing games. I think in particular, that's kind of my shit. Yeah, so even though we may we may end up talking more about things like Final Fantasy, just because that's kind of what's pulled us into this genre.
Yeah, that's probably the one we're going to talk about the most.
Yeah, but we're trying to be just a little bit more broad when talking about stuff like this. So for this introductory episode, I was telling DJ there's a few things that happened this week, a couple of juicy things. Kind of want to go over a little bit of news with you.
Lay 'em on us,
dude. Okay, so firstly, I'll just go ahead and start off with the most recent news. This literally happened today, and that is Elden Ring, the new From Software game. That is written by the author. This whole story of this game is written by the author of Game of Thrones. They announced it a while ago, and today a very short 7-second long clip of gameplay was leaked onto the internet.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah, I think there might have been a little bit more that was leaked about it, but I just watched the gameplay that was leaked or whatever, and it looks kind of cool. I mean, I'm not Brandon. If you're here because of Videoverse, Brandon is huge into the Bloodborne, Dark Souls. That sort of. He loves those games. They're some of his favorite games of all time. So this is a game that I know that he's pretty amped about. I mean, it looks cool. The gameplay that they showed off was open world. It looked like a Dark Souls game, but it was open world, and he was riding on a horse and slicing up dudes while he was riding the horse.
Yeah, that was the thing that
oh, what?
No, I was gonna say that. No, I was gonna agree with you. That that was the thing that tripped me up about the game, because I saw some gameplay footage of it was early beta, the leaked footage or whatever. And it gave me a lot of Dark Souls vibes, but I'm excited for it. I mean, I never really played a lot of the Oblivion game. Actually, I've hardly played any of them. I'll never watch people play them. Sorry, not Oblivion, the Elder Scrolls series.
Or Bloodborne Dark Souls series.
No, the Elder Scrolls games.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah.
I've never played any of those games, but this one I'm pretty excited for the most, because it reminds me, it gives a lot of those Dark Souls Bloodborne vibes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's written by the same guys, so it's it's going to be the same sort of gameplay as the Dark Souls Bloodborne games, just open world, you know? Yeah. Oh, tight. So that'll be cool. I mean, that's kind of the first thing I wanted to talk about, just because, leaked stuff is always cool.
Ooh.
But the other thing, and we're kind of going in this as far as my personal big excitement levels. The next thing is we had a Pokemon Direct kind of recently.
Right. Yeah.
Dude. Yeah, they announced some new stuff. They announced the new Pokemon Snap.
Yep.
Did you grow up with a Nintendo 64?
I did not know, unfortunately.
Yeah, neither did I. I mean, I played it a little bit whenever I was younger, but really the whole premise, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I need to get back on my Pokemon Snap, history. But basically, it's just you walk around and you take pictures of Pokemon. There's no general
I
story.
think that's literally all it is.
Yeah, there's like no real gameplay, at least compared to the other Pokemon games. But yeah, they're coming out with that, so that's kind of cool. Then they announced complete remakes of Pokemon Diamond and Pokemon Pearl. It is, I think.
Yes, sir.
What is it? Is it Beautiful Diamond?
Brilliant
and Shiny Pearl?
Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, yes.
Yes.
And yeah, those were some really highly anticipated Pokemon games. For a lot of people wanted those. How did you feel about the trailer? Did you see it?
I did. Yeah, I watched the whole direct thing. So I guess with this portion, we can kind of talk about our history with Pokemon. But for me, the only Pokemon games that I have played, or I've played just a small amount of Black and White, or one of the two, like on my stepbrother's Nintendo DS whenever I was like 10, but I don't even think I got into a battle. Like I literally just like picked it up for a second. But the only games that I've like played and beaten are Pokemon Fire Red and Pokemon Ruby and Let's Go Pikachu.
Okay.
Like that is my whole history with Pokemon. I sold my Nintendo 3DS like a week before they announced like Sun and Moon or X and Y, whichever was like the first Pokemon games to come out on 3DS.
I think it was X and Y. I think it was.
Yeah. Yeah, I never got around to playing those, unfortunately. And then I don't know, I think I just wasn't interested enough to get them on my DS. Like I had friends who had them and would just watch them play. So I never got around to playing Pokemon Diamond or Pearl. So for me, I actually am really excited for this. I'm pretty fucking amped. Like from what I understand in the interviews, it's like literally just a new coat of paint on Pokemon, like on those games. They said it's as close to a 1-to-1 remake as possible. Literally just better visuals. So I don't know if they've gotten a whole lot better than Pokemon Diamond and Pokemon Pearl, but I know a lot of people do love them, and I've never played them. And given the next piece of news, I'm pretty fucking excited to play them, because then they straight up announced a prequel game, like a big open world game that takes place in that same Diamond and Pearl universe. So, okay, cool.
Yeah, that was weird, but also really cool. Like, I did not expect that at all.
Yeah, I mean, and it looks like they're using a different kind of engine or something than Pokemon Sword and Shield. Yeah. Like it looks a little different. It looks better. I don't know. It just looks a bit more, especially the gameplay portion that they showed. It's definitely different than Pokemon Sword and Shield.
I agree.
So because I am not well versed in all things Pokemon, these announcements were pretty fucking hype for me, because I'm like, awesome. I get to go back and enjoy this thing that a lot of my friends have like grown up enjoying, along with being able to experience a brand new Pokemon game, because I never played Sword and Shield whenever they came out, because you know, it's just, from what I was hearing, it wasn't something that I wanted to buy. But with these, you know, Diamond and Pearl are already well-reviewed titles, so I doubt there's going to be a whole lot of complaining with this remake. Yeah, and then the new game just looks super cool.
Yeah, it does. Looks pretty tight.
But what is your relationship to Pokemon? Like, how do you feel about these announcements?
Well, my relationship to Pokemon in general, I remember growing up out in daycare, like all the bigger kids, the 5th graders, would always play Pokemon, be like, hey, let me play, but they never would, because they were fucking assholes. And eventually I bought Pokemon Leaf Green, and that was like, at the time, that was probably my favorite game of all time, and I would play it all the time. And like, even to this day, like I've played that game so many times, and I'm playing it right now. Well, not at this very moment, but I'm playing it on my phone.
Epic multitasking.
Absolutely, dude. Like, I've probably beaten that game at least 5 times. Just Pokemon Leaf Green for me is one of my favorite Pokemon games of all time. Actually, no, my favorite Pokemon game of all time. I've beaten Leaf Green, Sapphire, Sword and Shield, Sun and Moon, and Heart Gold. I've never played Black and White. And honestly, yeah, you're not missing much from Sword and Shield and Sun and Moon, especially Sun and Moon. That's probably, in my opinion, Sun and Moon is the worst Pokemon game that Game Freak has ever made, personally. I'm not going to get too into that. But with the new announcements...
Dude, if you want to go off, bro, go off.
Well, no,
I don't know shit about it, so...
It's just that, I don't know, it's... Pokemon, I mean, obviously Pokemon is targeted for kids, but, like, kids aren't fucking stupid, dude. Like, that game handholds you so hard, and the tutorial is so fucking long, and it's just bad, and I genuinely do not care for the story in that game. Like, I'm just here to catch Pokemon and beat the shit out of Pokemon.
Right.
And Sword and Shield, a lot of people complain about that game, but it wasn't that bad. It wasn't good, but it wasn't that bad. It was definitely a improvement from Sun and Moon in a lot of aspects, but still could have been better. But when I saw the Diamond and Pearl announcement remakes, I was excited, but also, like, when I saw how it looked at first, I was it was a little jarring because I thought it was going to be sort of in the style of Sun and Moon. Oh, not Sun and Moon, Sword and Shield. Yeah. So it was kind of weird to see it like pretty much like a DS game, but with better graphics, which, I mean, still pretty excited for because, you know, Diamond and Pearl gets a lot of rep for being really good games. I never played a whole bunch of those games. I think I only played up to like the 3rd gym in that game, but yeah, I'm excited for those, and I'm even planning on. I was planning on playing those games eventually, because I have Pearl for the DS, so I was hoping to eventually play that. So yeah, and the Legend of Arceus game, that game also, that looks really cool and something very interesting. I'm excited for. I was kind of hoping. It seems like something that what should have been more what Sword and Shield was, maybe.
Sure.
I don't know,
dude, and you know, I think a lot of that just comes down to a lot of people's expectations. For me, my expectations have never been really high for Pokemon, you know, because like I said, the only Pokemon games that I, like before, like Sword and Shield were all announced and all this stuff, even before Breath of the Wild came out, because I really think it's Breath of the Wild that really made people start feeling like the Switch is going to be the system that like kickstarts all of these super badass next generation, you know, Nintendo titles. Well, because, you know, you had Zelda, Breath of the Wild, and then you had Mario, Odyssey. Like, those were the so far, I mean, technically speaking, some of the best like versions of those two characters that we've seen of, like, definitely, you know, the Zelda games and the Mario games. And then Pokemon was announced. People were kind of hyped about it, but as time went on, people were like, "Ooh, no. I don't know." Yeah, but like I said, you know, the only other games that I played were Fire Red and Ruby. So, you know, I'm not I'm not gonna try to be too picky with what Pokemon is. Like you had said earlier, you weren't like way drawn into this, like the story side of it, and that's the thing for me too. I'm not drawn to the story of Pokemon either,
because it's not meant to be like a story heavy game to begin with, really. Dude.
If it was story heavy, I probably would have played all of them, you know. Like I'd be really into it, but you know, they designed these games to be, you know, like digestible by all ages. Yeah. So, you know, you got to give them props for just being able to.
Oh yeah, I appreciate them doing
like
something
that.
Different.
Yeah.
That they tried.
So, you know, this DS game is just getting some, you know, 3D round edges to it.
Absolutely, bro.
You know, I'm kind of pumped about it.
Yeah, all in all, good shit, Nintendo.
Yeah. And then even with the whole Pokemon Legends, Arceus, it's like Arceus is the subtitle to Pokemon Legends, which gets me kind of pumped because it's like, oh, they can probably go ahead and, what is it? Pokemon Legends Rayquaza or something, like some big like legendary Pokemon, and just expand the like the world regions for other games. Like you can make a bunch of games, I guess. Do that. Mm-hmm. That's just kind of what I take from it, because Arceus is the subtitle to it, so I'm like, ooh, what's gonna be the next one, but yeah, that's the Pokemon side of stuff. Next, we had a Sony PlayStation State of Play kind of recently.
That's true, we did.
And in that, they showed off a new trailer for some Final Fantasy VII Remake DLC, bro.
Oh, what? We're talking about Final Fantasy? Oh, that's surprising.
Bro, Final Fantasy? We're ending the news portion on the Final Fantasy segment. So they showed off a badass, like, fucking 12-year-old Yuffie, or however old she is.
Hopefully older than 12.
I know in Crisis Core she was like a little kid.
Oh,
but in 7 I can't remember. But anyways, they have a whole Yuffie side quest, or just a whole new like story chapter where you play as Yuffie. It looks pretty fucking dope. I'm not gonna lie.
It looks great. It's great.
As a person who only has a PlayStation 4, this makes me want to die.
Yes.
Like I know like one other person who has a PS5. Right. I know two people. One of them got it for free. Like it's not a console that everyone can just go readily buy right now. So.
It's just their way of being like, hey, go get a PS5, you dummy.
Yeah, but I don't know.
Isn't everybody rich and able to afford a PS5? Come on.
Yeah. I mean, okay. So there was a handful of Final Fantasy VII stuff that came out this week. They announced a shit ton of stuff.
Yeah, they did. For like Final Fantasy VII, to be specific.
Yeah, for Final Fantasy VII Remake, they're kind of popping off right now as far as just announcements. So during the State of Play, they showed the trailer, and in that trailer they said, it's gonna be available whenever, like if you have the PS4 version, whenever you upgrade to the PS5 version, you get that episode for free, I guess. I think that's what I took away from that message.
Yep.
But yeah, I don't know. I kind of lost my train of thought because it's just frustrating to me.
It is very frustrating.
Yeah, I don't know why they're not just like allowing people to. I mean, maybe it will be on PS4, and I'm just not reading correctly whenever I read all these stories.
I think you're right. Yeah, it's only PS5.
Yeah. So, other than that announcement, they announced 2 other mobile games. Let me pull up the name of this one. What is it? It's called like Final Fantasy VII mobile games. So they announced Ever Crisis, which is, it like compiles every Final Fantasy VII thing.
Yep, that's what
it's like literally everything.
Mm-hmm.
Oh shit! I didn't mean to play that video. So, it's kind of interesting. I've noticed this with the Final Fantasy VII, like titles whenever they release them. They had Final Fantasy VII, and then they have Advent Children, Before Crisis, Crisis Core, Dirge of Cerberus, and now Ever Crisis. That's AC, BC, CC, DC, EC.
Interesting.
I don't know what they're going for that. But like Advent Children, Before Crisis, Crisis Core, Dirge of Cerberus, Ever Crisis. It's like I don't know. I just kind of noticed that, and I'm like, what the fuck are they doing? That seems like a weird kind of thing.
It also could just be a coincidence, but there could also be something.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it literally is just a coincidence, but they've been released like in that order. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I'm looking at screenshots of this stuff, and it's interesting because on one hand, it looks like they're remaking the game, like the original Final Fantasy VII, again.
Yeah.
Like, are they? Like, what are they? And then at the end of the trailer, you see Zack on top of a train, which is, if you played Crisis Core, that's like the fucking beginning of the game.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay. And then, whenever you look at the photo that is paired with it, you see it says it features the entire compilation of Final Fantasy VII and more. Has Final Fantasy VII at the top, and then right underneath it, Advent Children, Crisis, Before Crisis, Crisis Core, and Dirge of Cerberus. And Before Crisis...
Wait, was Advent Children, real quick, was Advent Children the movie?
Yes, it was the movie. So I'm like,
makes
okay.
it even weirder. Okay.
Yeah, because it's like, are you making it into a playable game?
I mean, that'd be
because the movie already exists. The movie looks good.
Yeah.
Like visually. You don't need to remake the movie. Like it's, so I wonder what they mean by including that. Like, is that like movie DLC?
Maybe. I don't know. Maybe
because I know it's going to be episodic.
Free. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. But Before Crisis is a game that only came out in Japan.
Yeah, it was like a phone game, right?
Yeah, like for flip phones. Like not even like an app game. Yeah. It was like a fucking press the number 5 and the number 6 to like shoot the characters or whatever.
Right.
So that's interesting. Also, Dirge of Cerberus is in here, and Crisis Core as well. I just want to know. Too, yeah. I just want to know what the fuck this is.
Right.
Like,
and
I'm looking
of
at
Dirge
these.
Of Cerberus, I've heard that like apparently in the Yuffie trailer, one of the characters who appears is like a villain from Dirge of Cerberus. So apparently they're like sort of adding that universe.
Ooh.
Yeah. Because I know Dirge of Cerberus is supposed to take place after. Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, it's pretty much like Dirge of Cerberus. This is the closest analogy I can make it. I can make with this. So the Metal Gear Solid series had Metal Gear Rising, and Metal Gear Rising took place like way in the future of Metal Gear Solid, way after the events of spoiler alerts for Metal Gear Solid, the whole series. Solid Snake, at the end of Metal Gear Solid 4, and Big Boss, both of them die.
Oh shit.
Well, yeah, or fuck, maybe I know for sure Big Boss dies. I can't. Okay. I feel like they did like a fake out with Solid Snake or something where he like shoots himself. I can't remember. Anyways, Metal Gear Solid 4 takes place in the year like 2012 or 2013 or something, and that's supposed to be like the end of the Metal Gear Solid story.
Okay.
But then Metal Gear Rising comes out and it takes place like 10 or 15 years afterwards. So it's connected in some degree, but it's not like, you just play as this side character. You play as, a cyborg ninja, and the gameplay is totally different than all of the other Metal Gear Solid games. So that's kind of how I've always seen Dirge of Cerberus. You're not really missing a whole lot.
Yeah.
If you don't play that game,
Yeah.
But if they're updating that game or something to make it like super, like, I don't know, like super story relevant, that'll be cool.
Yeah, agreed.
Now, the black sheep of all of these announcements, in my opinion.
Oh.
They announced a game called Final Fantasy VII, The First Soldier. And this is this is a game that is it looks like Final Fantasy Fortnite.
Yeah, it's pretty much what it is. Just Final Fantasy Fortnite.
It is an online game that you play. It's they said it's a battle royale game.
Real quick, I'm looking at the IGN video of it, and like the like to dislike ratio, they're both 6K likes, 6K dislikes.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, so and I also just noticed this. Final Fantasy VII, the First Soldier. So it's not FC, but it's FS.
All right.
So, okay, they're fucking doing a thing here with the naming conventions.
They're doing it.
Anyways, yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the gameplay right now. For a phone game, dude, it looks badass.
Oh yeah,
like
for
it looks
phone
like
game,
like, dude, visually, I mean, it looks like the Final Fantasy VII remake, you know, like just on your phone.
Oh yeah.
I think obviously, if you have, depending on like what kind of phone you have or how beefy your phone hardware is, you know, that
my
can
phone
vary,
cannot
I
handle
guess.
this.
Right, but I'm looking at this and I'm like, shit, maybe mine can, or you know, I can run it through BlueStacks on my computer and play it like a PC game or something.
I mean, Final Fantasy is known for good graphics, so.
Yeah, for real. So, also just kind of looking at this, there's obviously the player versus player aspect to it, but then there's a lot of, like, you fight well-known Final Fantasy VII enemies and stuff. Yeah. And I know the game technically takes place 30 years before Final Fantasy VII, which I guess is also before before Crisis and Crisis Core.
Interesting.
So I think the thing that I just keep thinking is, fuck, I don't want to play this fucking mobile game so that I know the story that they're trying to tell me. You know, it's like the same shit that they did with Kingdom Hearts Union Cross.
Yeah.
Like, you know, they make this game that has arguably one of the coolest stories in all of the whole KH franchise, but they make it into a fucking phone game.
Right.
Not cool.
If they do that with this game, I don't care. I'm just gonna like read or like watch some video on it or whatever.
YouTube video. You know, I mean, sure, dude. It's a phone game, you know, so it's free to download. If there's some sort of like opening mission to it or something, you know, if there's a good hook to it, I might give it a try for a little bit, just because I'm a fan of Final Fantasy VII.
Right.
I'm not like a Fortnite guy. I've played it a few times. I've enjoyed some of what I've played, but
not our stick.
You know, yeah. I mean, this is a new Final Fantasy VII game, so I'll give it a try.
Man, I remember like, because there was already a bunch of Final Fantasy VII spinoffs, and I know a lot of people back then were just like, start with the Final Fantasy VII, and now they're just doing it again.
Yeah, dude, and not even just that, but it's like the whole Final Fantasy VII remake, realistically, dude, remake, in my opinion, I don't think that, it's weird that, like, after playing the game, I don't think that the word remake should be at the end of the title. I don't think it should be called Final Fantasy VII Remake. Mostly because it's a fucking sequel. Like it takes place after Final Fantasy VII. Like whenever you see the whole ending portion to it, you know, spoiler alert for Final Fantasy VII remake.
No, stop.
I won't go too depth into spoilers, but there's enough in there that make it really obvious that Tetsuya Nomura, you know, Mr. Kingdom Hearts man, he has directed this game, and he has used these like plot ghosts, you know, like these ghosts that fly around and
ghost, perfect name.
Yeah, like they're plot ghosts. They basically just, like, if something is about to happen in the story that did not originally happen in the first Final Fantasy VII game, a plot ghost comes up and makes sure that the story is going the way that it went in Final Fantasy VII. And then at the end, these plot ghosts are a huge, like they're a big part of this whole like ending to the game. And I just can't help but feel like this was Tetsuya Nomura basically saying, hey, in the nicest way possible, fuck you. I'm doing what I want, okay? So,
the Japanese polite way of saying go fuck yourself.
Yeah. And then, you see at the very end, Zack is alive, which, spoiler alert for Crisis Core, that boy's fucking dead.
He got shot to death.
He got got, bro.
Yeah. But I mean, when you put it like that, I guess you could say this is like a sequel. Because I mean, even with the what we were talking about earlier with the Yuffie trailer, it's just like that was never in the original Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, exactly. And there's plenty, dude. There was a lot of stuff that was in this remake that I'm very glad was in there that was not inside of the original game, because it built this world. It made me I love Midgar now. I did not care a whole lot about Midgar I mean, yes, it's sad whenever the plate falls and it kills a lot of, kills this whole like town of people. There was a lot of really cool stuff that they did with Midgar. I appreciate Midgar for everything that, the plot was to Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah.
But I like really, really enjoyed Midgar in the remake, because
definitely.
there was just so much that was included in this remake that wasn't in the original game.
Agreed, yeah.
So, you know.
I mean, I know a lot of people talk about this, but it just really makes me curious, just like what is going to all be in part 2. Because
that's the big thing.
Because part 1, it was all of Midgar, which is like in the original Final Fantasy VII, just the first 4 hours of that game turned into like a 30 to 40 hour
Yes,
game.
Exactly. Yeah. And, the original game is like a 30 to 40 hour game.
Yeah.
So it's like, holy shit, how many parts are there going to be? And this is why I think that there's not going to be as many parts as we think. Because we are looking at it from the scope of, Midgar was only 3 to 4 hours long. And they made that whole portion into a 40-hour game.
Yeah.
What happens right afterwards is basically you're open to go anywhere that you like. That's whenever you first see the world map, is right after you leave Midgar. And there's so much stuff, and people are looking at it through this lens of like, whenever we go to this town or whenever we go to like Gold Saucer, like those are also going to be fucking huge since they made Midgar so big. But realistically, dude, I have no fucking idea.
Honestly,
where
now
Final
that
Fantasy VII Remake is going.
Now that you bring that up, maybe they're not going to include everything. Maybe they're just going to focus on the big story beats of Final Fantasy VII. Like, they won't have all the stuff that you did in the original. They'll just focus on, like, the main things. Like, I could see... Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, like, they're not being, like, maybe there won't be a shit ton of parts, which I hope not.
Maybe. I mean, because... At the rate that this game is, that these games are developed, if it was a 1-to-1 remake, or at least the same kind of idea that the first remake or part 1 of the remake was, dude, we'd probably be at least 30 years old by the time we saw the fucking end of Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah,
like it would take so long, dude.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, there was a lot of stuff. In the end, they talked a lot about defying fate. They included all of these different, enemies that you fight, like the Watchmen of Fate or whatever, like those 3 huge characters.
Yeah.
Which are interesting. Did you notice how the 3 characters now we're just fucking talking about Final Fantasy VII. But just real fast, did you notice how the 3 characters were very like accurately like kind of depicting Cloud's abilities and Tifa's abilities and Barrett's abilities? Like it was
Oh, those
It
three
was-
thingies you fight before Sephiroth?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting though because I mean, Aerith is still a part of your party, you know. So it's
Right.
like, where's the one for
Uh-oh.
Aerith? Whoa.
Uh-oh.
But at the same time, it's like they could very well just say, "Psych, we're not doing that."
Right.
I mean, Zack is alive now, you know.
Oh, man. I wonder, God, yeah, Aerith, spoiler, Aerith's death, I really, God, that could really go either way of just like how people react to it.
Because earlier they fake you out with thinking that they're gonna kill Barrett.
Oh, yeah.
Straight
when I
up,
saw, I was like, wait,
Sephiroth
what the
puts
fuck?
a sword through him. Yeah.
But then
So
the
it's like,
plot
what the
goes to,
fuck
like,
are they
nope.
gonna do? Okay, let's kind of hop off.
Right. We could talk about
the Final
this game
Fantasy VII
forever.
remake train for a
Yeah.
second here. Anyways, that was all the news. I'm pretty pumped for a lot of that.
Agreed.
Not super pumped for the battle royale game, but hey, it's something.
You win some, you lose some.
Yeah. So with this being our introductory podcast that we spent, 20 minutes talking about Final Fantasy VII,
Mm-hmm.
I want to take a little bit of time just to kind of. I'll ask you a question. You can give me your answer, and I'll piggyback off of that, or give you my answer for that same sort of thing. But yeah, I mean, this is an RPG podcast. What is your favorite series? If it's Final Fantasy, dope. You can explain that, but also maybe do you have another series that you're in favor of that's not Final Fantasy?
I do. Well, definitely Final Fantasy is my favorite. Surprise. But the other ones that I really like are Pokemon, the Pokemon franchise, and probably, I mean, I guess the Disgaea franchise.
Yeah.
Would be my other one.
Interesting. I've never played a single Disgaea game.
They're fun. I enjoy them a
Yeah.
lot. What about you?
So Final Fantasy is up there for me.
Mm-hmm.
Kingdom Hearts
Oh, right.
is up there for me, obviously.
Well, obviously to me, not
Mega
to
Man
people
Battle
listening.
Network, baby. Me and DJ played Mega Man Battle Network on our channel Videoverse, so
Go check it out.
yeah, watch those. Yeah, so Final Fantasy is my favorite series of just Japanese role playing games. Kingdom Hearts is the other one for me, at least as I don't know. I can't really say which one is first place for me.
Mm-hmm.
But I grew those are the games that I grew up on.
Yeah.
Or at least, I started getting really into them whenever I was about in the 6th grade or so. And they really kind of started forming my kind of interests and just kind of showing me just showing myself all the stuff that I'm interested in and helping me realize the kind of gamer that I am.
But you're a gamer.
Yeah, bro. Went full Super Saiyan gamer by the time I was a freshman.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. So what is it about the Final Fantasy games for you that really kind of pushed you to be a big fan of RPGs?
It's a loaded question. Damn.
It's a bit loaded, yeah.
Never really thought about that. I don't know. I guess something about them, they're just a lot of fun, comforting. I really like the world. Because the one that I first played that I consider my favorite, even though there are other ones that I say, yeah, that's technically better, is Final Fantasy IV. That was the first one that I played. And for me personally, that's my favorite. And I don't know, something about the world, the characters, I just really loved and made me fall in love with all the other games too. So I guess something to do with that. I just like the whole setting of Final Fantasy as a whole, and just a very it's a beautiful world to be a part of, and I really like all the characters, stories, games, gameplay, stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely, man. Yeah, dude, I would say for me, Dude, if these games didn't have as banging of music as they did, I would not be a fan. Like,
okay.
Almost every entry in this series has got like a fucking like a full album of songs that I can listen to like regularly.
Yeah, they got some bangers in there.
Yeah, man. Obviously the stories to these games, the world, the characters, and all that. They're all fantastic, man.
I guess one thing that I also can appreciate a lot about it is the fact that each Final Fantasy is its own story, world, and characters. Like, I feel like that would definitely deter a lot of people, probably me too, is that, like, if you had to play them all in order or in some weird order like the Metal Gear Solid franchise.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think there's definitely some benefit that comes from just, like, playing them in a, you know, like if you wanted to go through them like play from Final Fantasy 1 through Final Fantasy 15 or 16 or whatever, because by the time that you start Final Fantasy 1 to play through all of them, 16 will already be out. Hopefully. But you know, it's like if you were to do that, you definitely get to see just kind of how this series has evolved.
Yeah.
And that's been a really cool thing for me to see. Even if you jump around, it's really, I mean, each Final Fantasy game is excellent in being a, just like a great piece of history of the time that it came out as far as like video games go.
Yeah, definitely.
Like Final Fantasy IV was obviously a revolutionary title for its time, and then by the end of the Super Nintendo era, Final Fantasy VI basically was just the swan song of 16-bit, 8-bit RPGs for all of that era. You know, like those are excellent. You know, obviously the first Final Fantasy game is, you know, revolutionary, Dragon Quest and all that shit.
Right.
But yeah, dude. For me, man, and maybe this can be this other question that I ask you, but for me, if these games didn't have good music, man, right. I don't know if I would if I'd be a fan. So like, what is it if a new series, if you're about to start playing a brand new like role playing game, what do you need to have? Like, what is king for you?
Gameplay.
As far as like, gameplay?
Yep.
So, like, if the story's, like, dog shit, or, like, you know, voice acting is, like, piss poor, like, you know, music and all that is bad. As long as it's good, fun, you know, fun shit for you, you're good?
Well, that's the main thing. But, I mean, if everything else is utter dog shit, then it's kind of hard for me to, like, if it was just kind of mediocre, the voice acting, gameplay, well, not gameplay, voice acting, story, characters like that, that's fine as long as the gameplay is fun. Because I played plenty of games where, like, if you really just sit down and look at the story or the music, it's all forgettable. But the gameplay was fun. Like, that's how I felt for Star Ocean for me personally. The Star Ocean, what the fuck is the fourth one called? The one for PS3, whatever that one's called.
Yeah,
like, I really
recently
The Last
played
Hope.
it.
Yeah, The Last Hope, that's what it's called. Like, the gameplay was fun, but fuck most of those characters, and the music was forgettable for the most part. The graphics weren't that great, but the gameplay was enough to keep me going. So
yeah,
that's like a perfect example for me of like a game where it's
you
like,
know, yeah, you know, I think that I've kind of slowly been more picky about gameplay, like as for myself, because for me for a long time it's been. I've been just purely like I play single player games, you know, like I play games for the characters and the story and the setting, and like I'm trying to get lost in like a different world that's not, you know, fucking Earth, you know. So it's like, but recently, you know, I've been playing Octopath Traveler, and it's good. I want to say I'm close to the halfway point. I'm like 40 hours in, and I think I'm halfway done.
Tight.
But some of these characters' stories are kind of dog shit. Not gonna lie, you know. Sometimes it's been kind of a chore. What's up?
You don't like the merchant girl,
bro?
I know nothing of their stories, to be honest. I didn't pay attention.
Some of them are fucking awesome, you know. I actually I played through everyone's first chapter because everyone's got a handful of chapters to their stories. But I played everyone's first chapter with the English dialogue on. And some of it was really good. And then there's some shit like the thief. The thief character, Therion, and he's the guy who I chose as my starting person. Okay. Because I like rogue characters. Like he would just say some fucking cringe ass shit. Like we'd end a battle and he'd be like, "Where's the nearest tavern?" Like I don't know, just like some like cocky thing. Like he would just say, "Where's the nearest tavern?" And like I can't tell you how many times I've been playing that game, and my wife Nicole would just be like, "Where's the nearest tavern?" Like, shut the fuck up.
Shut Nicole.
So, needless to say, I'm playing that game in Japanese now, but I like it a lot better. He sounds fucking cool in Japanese. Anyways, the gameplay.
Where is the nearest tavern?
Yeah, the gameplay to this game though is fucking tight. The
gameplay was.
I've been into it, and there's this whole job class system, kind of like where in Final Fantasy 12 I think you can only give your character like one other job class.
Yeah.
Right. That's kind of how this is. Well, you can make them have whatever job class that they want, but they can only use like one job at a time. Like if I want to make my thief make his second job class a warrior, no one else can be a warrior other than the person whose main class is a warrior.
Right.
So you can have 2 warriors at a time or something, but no one else can be a warrior.
Right.
Same thing with like if I want to make my warrior a black mage, the black mage is still a black mage, but no one else can be a black mage because you've already made the warrior's second class a black mage. So anyways, there's just been a lot of really cool stuff as far as customization goes. And I played a little bit of Bravely Default recently and just kind of getting into the job class system. And that's made me really, really interested to go back and maybe try playing through all of Final Fantasy 3 or all of Final Fantasy 5, just because, the stories to those games aren't necessarily the best that the series has to offer, but they got pretty cool gameplay.
Oh yeah.
And I've been, I've tried the MMO recently and I've been playing that one for a little bit. I really enjoyed that one. Like for me personally, gameplay has started taking a much more higher priority on my list than it used to be. But yeah.
Speaking of job class systems, I mean, with the way that, speaking of Final Fantasy, with the way that 16 is starting to look, it probably won't have that, but I don't know. It would be cool to like have another Final Fantasy game that like takes precedent over like the job system that's like the main focus of the gameplay. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Probably not in 16 though.
Yeah, I mean, we'll just have to see what they do with that one, but that will be really cool if they did this whole thing, because I don't know if you'll have a party or not. It kind of looks like it's going to be a single player action game,
Seems like
that was another that was another piece of news that came out within this week or last 2 weeks or something. The director of Final Fantasy 16, or the producer, he said it's going to be like the game is aiming at a much more action orientation.
Yeah.
So, some people are into it, some people aren't so into it. I'm into it.
Yeah,
I'm fucking up for whatever new shit that they got to offer. Like,
right. Because I mean, for me, honestly, I prefer more action-oriented games than I do like turn-based combat. Honestly, I do enjoy turn-based combat. I played a lot of those, but I have more enjoyment out of like more action-oriented games. So I'm excited for this.
Which has kind of always been the beauty of Final Fantasy for me too, because sure, the gameplay's kind of slow. There's a lot of strategy that goes into it, which can be really fun. It can be fun to think about what you're going to do, planning your next character's moves and all that stuff. But ultimately, I'm not playing fucking Final Fantasy 7 because of its riveting turn-based combat. Right. Like that's not like really my like that's like what I was saying earlier of just like gameplay hasn't always been like on a high priority for me. Like the thing that pulls me into these Final Fantasy games is their music and their story and their character and their world and all this shit, you know. But yeah, so maybe you mentioned earlier you're super into, or you know, you're more into the action adventure side of role-playing games.
Yeah.
So I think I know what your favorite game of all time is. But do you want to go ahead and maybe say if you do have a favorite game?
I don't.
Can I tell you what I thought it was?
Sure.
I thought it was Dragon's Dogma.
It's definitely in. So I've started to slowly figure out what I think my top 10 favorite games of all time are. And I think I've figured out 3 of them, and they're Pokemon Leaf Green, Final Fantasy IV, and Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen. And actually, I have been lately playing Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen because I plan on making a video of that soon for my personal channel. And
awesome.
I love that game a lot. It's a lot of fun. The action is great. The story is dog shit, but the action in that game is fucking amazing, and I love it. And actually, speaking of news and Dragon's Dogma, apparently it was leaked that Dragon's Dogma 2 is coming.
Okay.
Like it's gonna happen.
Okay.
Because I know the director, the creator of like DMC5, he was like, before he made DMC5, was like, all right, so I'm either gonna make DMC5 or I'm gonna make Dragon's Dogma 2. And DMC5 is out, or it's been out. So here comes Dragon's Dogma 2. I'm really excited for that. Man.
Yeah, I'm pumped for you, dude. It makes me want to go back and play Dragon's Dogma. I think I have it on Steam or something.
I would highly recommend it.
I don't have a good PC.
I would highly recommend it, but I don't know if it's my favorite game of all time, but I would definitely say it's in my top 10.
Yeah, those 3 games that you mentioned, Leaf Green, FF4, and Dragon's Dogma, are they in that order, or they're just kind of,
no,
for sure they're in your top 10?
I just know they're in there, not sure what order.
Okay. Do you, is there another, okay, so I know that Final Fantasy IV is your favorite Final Fantasy, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Within your top 10, is there another one, do you think?
Maybe I would have to play them again, but if I were to put another one in there, it would probably either be so far either 7 or 12. From the 12. Top of my head. Yeah, I really like 12 a lot.
Is that just kind of mostly looking at it from a gameplay thing?
Gameplay, and also just the fact that it's different from all the previous Final Fantasy games in terms of its world, because it's a new world, new lore.
Well, it's like
it's Evilise.
Well, yeah, so it's like the tactics world, right?
Yeah.
And like the Vagrant story world.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is, other than like the FF13 like Fabula Nova Crystallis lore, it definitely is a part of its own universe. So
like it has its own different summons. It has like a bunch of races and stuff. It's like, it's cool. I like that.
Dude, yeah, I'm into it. I want to play the Evilise games, like in the order that they were released. Like I want to play Tactics, I want to play Vagrant Story, I want to play the Tactics Advanced games or whatever, and then I want to play 12 for sure, and even 12 on the DS. What was it, Revenant Wings?
Yeah, Revenant Wings. I think
have you given
game,
that one?
That was when I was a kid. I've beaten it, but that was when I was a kid, so I don't remember jack shit.
Yeah,
I think I still have it too.
So other than kind of like the role playing genre, other than leveling up and doing all of the cliche role playing game stuff, what other genre do you find yourself gravitating to?
Are there even other genres? No, I was playing.
Me and Brandon were talking about this, and he was like, "That's kind of a hard question because almost every game, like Destiny, that's an RPG."
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
yeah, like
it's
a lot
hard.
of games
it's hard to think about.
Can be considered. I would say fighting games. I guess.
Yeah.
I do enjoy those a lot. Like the Tekken series is 100% my favorite fighting game franchise. But yeah, I guess probably that one.
Yeah.
What about you?
Tekken.
You think?
You know, it's like, is Zelda an RPG? No. Is it? Wait, like, would you
It
consider
probably is.
Zelda an RPG? Because I know it's an action adventure game.
You know, it probably is considered an RPG. Okay, what even is considered an RPG? Like, that's
Okay.
because I feel that's a very broad spectrum.
Let's define this. In this introductory episode of this podcast, we are going to define.
Yeah. Because now I'm
an
starting to think
RPG.
it's even broader than we thought.
Yeah. Role-playing video game. Let's just look at what fucking Wikipedia has to offer to us. A role-playing video game, also known as an RPG, is a video game where the player controls the actions of a character or several other characters like a party, immersed in some well-defined world, usually involving some form of character development by way of recording statistics. So that's whenever you leveling up is kind of a like the most common form of character status in video games.
Right.
Many role-playing games have origins in tabletop games like Dungeons and Dragons and use much of the same terminology, settings, and game mechanics. Other major similarities with pen and paper games include developed storytelling and narrative elements, player characters, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, anyway, so I think role-playing games definitely have a let's just say, like, for us, I would say, like, for me, I would define any role-playing game as a game where you can, like, by your own command, depending on what you make your character do, you can level up their stats, upgrade their weapons, do that sort of thing. Now, in some of the Legend of Zelda games, yes, you do get new weapons. You can find items and stuff inside of caves and all that. But, there actually is one 3DS Zelda game where you literally do, based on all the things that you collect, you can upgrade your items to be more stronger, more powerful, or whatever. So I think some Zelda games are RPGs and some are not.
Well, I'm looking at websites that are asking, like, is Zelda an RPG? And a lot of people are saying that, like, it's an action adventure game with RPG elements. Yeah, definitely.
I would agree with that, definitely. That's like I said, there's some games where there's definitely some RPG stuff in there, and then some that I would just consider just a purely adventure game.
Yeah.
But other than that, dude, I love me some horror games. I like racing games too, man.
Really?
I love me some Gran Turismo and Mario Kart. Those are probably my two favorite racing games.
Fun. I'm surprised we haven't played any on the show.
Bro, Mario Kart's an RPG, though, if we're being honest. You can, like, unlock new wheels and like, bodies.
That's true.
But, yeah, Mario Kart's pretty dope. Love me some of that. But, dude, Gran Turismo, I think, in my opinion, because some people will say Forza on the Xbox and stuff, maybe that one's the better one of the two, but in my opinion, because I grew up playing on PlayStation, so I'm more well versed with what Gran Turismo is. It is a really good driving simulator game. Like, whenever you're playing the game and all that, it's pretty much all touted as, like, the best driving simulator. Oh, whoa. So it's so it's good. Also, whenever they had the PlayStation 5 reveal, they showed off a little bit of gameplay of Gran Turismo 7. Dude, that shit just looks like they, like, put a camera inside of a car and drove outside.
Pretty much.
Like, that just looks like it's just real life.
Yeah.
So
I mean, shit.
I'm excited to get that. Like, that's one game. Yeah, like, that's Gran Turismo 7 You know, there's not a whole like there's plenty
Game
of
the year.
there's plenty of games that I know for sure. You know, I'm gonna get that whenever I get a PS5. Like for me, it's like I'll get the Demon's Souls remaster. I'll get Spider-Man. You know, I'll get Final Fantasy 16 and all that. But the most differing one of all of those that I think I know for sure I'm gonna get when I get a PS5 is Gran Turismo 7, just because it's like I have so much nostalgia with that game, with like racing with my dad and stuff on the PS3 version.
Tight.
But yeah, let's see. Do you have any other sort of like maybe you want to bring up some sort of iceberg breaking or breaking the ice question? You know, as far as just like who we are and like what we like. Just off the top of your head, if you can think of, if not, that's fine. We can continue with something else.
Yeah, I got nothing. I'll be here for too long.
Okay. All right. Well, that's pretty much just kind of what we enjoy. We are huge fans of just the role-playing genre, obviously, if you couldn't tell from this whole fucking hour-long conversation. But there's a lot of stuff that I know for sure I want to do. I've brought some project ideas up to DJ. He's on board with a lot of this stuff too. So, you know, as your two co-hosts, I hope that we can, you know, I don't know if we can always promise it's going to be a weekly thing or a monthly thing, because you know you very well could, if me and DJ got nothing going on, you could expect maybe 2 podcasts back to back or something. But you know, as far as the structure of that goes,
I'd say at the very least we'll definitely be active.
Yeah, we'll
is the best way for me to put it.
This is something that I will kind of constantly, it'll be in the back of my mind like at all times.
Yeah.
You know. So there's lots of stuff that I want to do. For instance, I want to do some ranking shit. I want to get some, you know, because I want to upload these to YouTube as well. So I'll put like some sort of video element to this, you know, like whenever this one goes up on YouTube, it will, whenever we're talking about the gameplay footage for Final Fantasy, you know, fucking Fortnite edition, like, you know, there will be a video playing that whole, yeah. yeah. So, you know, I want to do some ranking stuff. I want to do some tier lists. I got some ideas for little segments we want to do. I mentioned to DJ we want to talk about certain hot takes, some spicy
RPG
opinions. Yeah, whether it's just all around RPG stuff, or you know, there's a subreddit that I found thanks to a YouTuber. You know, I'm not going to continue with this until I give this man some credit. 1 second.
Right.
Unpopular FF opinions. Okay. Reliable Prez on YouTube. Reliable Prez. This video has 157 views. All right. This is a well-made video. This guy makes some good shit. So let me just real fast plug this dude, because he does not get nearly enough attention as he deserves. This guy has 447 subscribers, and he makes like well edited, well thought out stuff going over the Final Fantasy series, the Persona series, the Kingdom Hearts series. Like he's doing RPG shit, and he's doing it well, you know.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate whenever I see like very talented people not get the recognition they deserve.
Yeah.
By me.
I'm on Brandon's computer right now doing this recording, so I'm logged into his account, and I'm so tempted just to subscribe to this dude using Brandon's YouTube channel. So, you know, he's got some good shit, like, is Final Fantasy 13 worth playing in 2021? Or
I think I saw that thumbnail for that,
Yeah, so I watched the is Final Fantasy 4 worth playing and is Final Fantasy 6 worth playing? Spoiler alert, yeah, they are. I definitely recommend them. Anyways, we have a lot of ideas. This guy made a video. It's called Kefka is a Boring Villain? Unpopular Final Fantasy opinions. And he introduces this subreddit where people post their hot takes, their spicy takes. So I want to do some shit like that. We discussed earlier a potential name for the podcast, and I thought, what about Too Many Sids? But we want this to be a general RPG discussion.
As much as we love Final Fantasy, we're not going to always be talking about it.
Yeah, sure. It's not there are other Final Fantasy centric podcasts. If you want to listen to a good one that also doesn't have enough attention, look up I Want to Be Your Canary.
Yeah.
Easily honestly, the best fucking name for a Final Fantasy podcast.
Yeah. But honestly, we'll probably bring up Final Fantasy at least a little bit every podcast. Probably.
Sure. I mean, we're talking about JRPGs and shit. You know? Yeah. But yeah, so we have a lot of stuff kind of brewing. We got some stuff cooking. I want to go ahead and make a Discord for this as well. So if you're listening to this, please go join the Discord. I'll make sure that I have all of that made before I go ahead and edit this video. So I apologize if the news that we covered is old news at this point. If anything, it'll be like a week old or something. Yeah. But
I mean, shit, sometimes in internet time, that's pretty long.
Yeah, it's pretty long.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Fuck it.
Anyways, thank you guys so much for listening. I'm Gavin.
I'm DJ.
Yeah, you fucking are, and you're beautiful.
Hell yeah. Thank you. You too.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for listening. We will catch y'all later.
Bye.